that tease, you are the man, Adam Wells. WWE legend and current TNA star, Mr. Al Snow. How you doing, buddy?
God, I am so excited, Donnie, as compared to the rest of your co-hosts. Literally, my testicles are pulling up inside me right now as we speak.
Oh, my God. That fake enthusiasm makes me feel so good about myself, dude. I feel like I'm somebody now. Dude, this is awesome. This is fantastic. So, Al Snow, I know that everybody knows who you are. How can anybody forget once they see you? But you've been in the news recently. You got a lot of movies coming out now, and you're doing a local show. You want to tell the people what's going on in your world?
Yeah, well, we have a rolling release right now on a national level of a movie that I'm involved with called Dorothy and the Witches of Oz. It's a sequel to an updated sequel to The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy comes back and she's writing childhood books and about Oz, and she thinks that it's all just, fantasy when actually it's repressed memories. And the Wicked Witch and all of the characters of Oz follow her back into New York, and it's a great family film. It's the only family film I've done, and but it's a really cool film that they're doing something unprecedented within the movie industry, and that is that unless you're Warner Brothers or Paramount or one of the big production companies, you've got to go through this huge distributorship, and you've got to go through a mass marketer and all that stuff. They're literally taking it directly from the independent film producer directly to the movie theater. So the next big premiere is going to be in Milwaukee at the AMC Theaters there on March 16th. And, if anybody's out there in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, come on out. Director Lee Scott and a bunch of the cast are going to be there and get to see the movie before it starts its regular run. So, and then I'm also involved in Overtime, which is kind of like a horror, adventure, action comedy film, and then a comedy called Agua Caliente. Those will be out later this year. And then a horror movie called Penny Dreadful Picture Show, which I'll be out in October of later this year.
Oh, man. I'm bitching about my work schedule. Look, you're in like 12. You're like The Rock over here and shit, except for you're not doing the fairy movies. Jesus Christ, dude. This is awesome.
That's
it's
true.
good to see you've gone from being in the...
I do Magic
good to see
you've Blind also.
Yeah, it's good to see you've gone from the Job Squad to being big time, man. You've come a very long way over your career.
Hey, I was the chief of the Job Squad. You can't get no bigger than that.
I know. I had the shirt. I'm from Philly, man. I was all about that shit, dude. I loved it. I couldn't love it anymore. All right, you know what? Let me get right into it. Let's talk about it. I was just mentioning the ECW Extreme Reunion show coming up. You talk about your time in ECW. That's a lot of people sharpen their teeth there. You had a good run there, a lot of good matches. How about your time in ECW? Was that big in your career? Did you love that?
It was, going to ECW really, I knew was a factor in helping me save my career. Literally, I was in WWF at the time for a 2-year stint. And I knew that if I had stayed there at that point in time that my career was going to be basically over. And I begged and pleaded and was finally put on loan to Paul Heyman and ECW, where Paul basically allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. I did everything I could to get myself over. And thank God for ECW and a plastic head, I did. And it was a great time. I mean, I can't say enough positive things about my time in ECW, about the locker room, about the crew, of the boys, about the audiences. I mean, they were so incredible. People would downplay it, saying, well, you're only playing a bingo hall. It seats 2,000 people, or you're only playing Plymouth, Massachusetts, or someplace like that only seats 1,000, 1,500. You go to Queens and go to the Elks Lodge, big deal. But, I mean, there was no place that the fans were as passionate and as rabid as they were in ECW.
See, I am the one who attests to that all the time. I talk about how Philadelphia has such a hardcore following among wrestling fans. Adam Wells, you do the thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's very interesting. I was wondering, like your initial WWF run that ended before you went to ECW. What was it about the ECW that allowed you to succeed? Was it just like the freedom that Heyman gave you, or was something that WWF wouldn't let you do specifically? Or basically, how did ECW change your career once you got there? What made it different than WWF?
Well, I think the fact that Paul didn't have a definitive vision when I came there, because really I was just there on loan. And so I was free to just do whatever I wanted to do. Paul didn't care. And he at one point in time, people don't realize Paul hated, would go out and tell me, I hate your manager, I hate the head gimmick, but he wouldn't stop me from doing it. That was the thing. I was allowed to continue to do it. And it, continued to grow and get over on its own until, and then he latched onto it and took advantage of it and ran with it.
BJ?
Yeah, I mean, to me, you were a staple of the 90s. Everything you did in ECW and what you did in WWF, and it's great to see that you're getting back into really performing for us all. And to me, my lasting memory always will be, though, probably my favorite hardcore match was you against Hardcore Holly against St. Valentine's Day Massacre with the spot in the Mississippi River. Can you just go over that and who came up with the idea and how it all came about?
Well, usually I would go whenever I would do those matches because they always it started by accident, but with me and Road Dogg when we first did it, and we fought out of the building in Worcester out into the snow outside, and that was truly unintentional and completely by accident. And then after that became kind of the thing. They always wanted me to fight outside or in or around the building. And when I got there to Memphis and got to the building, I started looking around and planning things out. And we were literally right on the shores of the Mississippi River. And, it was February at the time. And during the day, it wasn't too bad out. And, I thought, well, that'd be cool if we fought out here and ended up fighting in the river. Little did I know, once we got in there, one, it was a lot colder than I expected, and two, it was a lot deeper, and the water flowed a lot faster. So, and Bob Holly was all kind of jacked up and crazy on the gas, so, I thought he was going to drown me at one point. So it was kind of, a wacky idea that I had that we would do that would, always trying to find things that you could use or that were just natural to the situation and the environment. And I thought, well, you can't get no bigger or better than, fighting into the river. So that's how it happened. We ended up doing it.
MC?
Yeah, Al, I just kind of wanted to go back a little bit and talk about some of the movies that you're doing now. Now that you seem to be so active in the movies, is this where you say that your passion is now, and how did you kind of get into the acting game?
I got into the acting game much the same way as I did the wrestling business, in that I've pretty much started doing, small roles or low-budget films for little or no money just because it's something that I enjoy, and it's a way for me to get my foot in the door, get experience, get an understanding of what the expectations are compared to wrestling, and then start developing and building a career. It just takes time, and you got to meet the right people and be in the right place at the right time, and the only way you can do that is to just get out there and do it. I don't know if it's necessarily I'm as passionate about it as I am about, say, for instance, wrestling. I mean, I've been very lucky to have gotten to be a professional wrestler and make a living at it for 30 years. And, it's just been the greatest thing in the world. I mean, there's nothing that can compare to being in and being a professional wrestler. I mean, it's just, I think it personally for me, it's been the greatest job in my, a person could have. I mean, I've gotten to go around the world, see people, meet people, do things, experience things that, my life's been literally an adventure for the last 30 years, and I never would have had that if I hadn't been a professional wrestler. I cannot tell you, I never have had one regret being involved in the wrestling business. As bad as sometimes it's gotten, I've never regretted it. I've never looked back and said, God, I wish I'd never been a professional wrestler. I wish now that I could always be a professional wrestler and that it would never end, especially knowing now from my experience what I know now that I could have used then. It would change my career dramatically. But, you can't go back and do that. So I've moved on into something that's I feel is kind of a natural extension of what I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that's the acting thing. But as it's enjoyable and it's exciting and it's a challenge, but nothing can compare with being a professional wrestler and walking out in front of a live audience and being able to make them stand up when you want them to stand up, sit down when you want them to sit down, cry when you want them to cry, laugh when you want them to laugh, and you get that immediate feedback. You're a professional athlete, you're an actor, you're a rock star, you're an entertainer, you're a magician, you're everything that everybody wants to be, all rolled into one, all at one moment, and it's nothing can compare. Nothing makes you feel more alive than to walk out there and perform in front of a professional wrestling crowd.
That's awesome. Jesus, dude, you got me, standing up in my seat. I want to, follow you in the battle now. Holy shit.